don't know how to get this side to just do what I needed to do. Anyway, welcome to the center of being. Welcome to my dojo. Welcome to Dojo Life. Welcome into the kitchen, and welcome to the meanderings of the heart on this day, November 24th, 2022. And so, I'm sure that I am up, like most people, in their kitchen, preparing a bounty of harvest for a friend and family. And, engaging in this labor of love known as, for all intents and purposes and lack of any better term in this moment, the Thanksgiving feast, right? And that's kind of what has been on my mind and some of what I wanted to talk to you all about today, talk to myself, because typically I am a community of one, right? But there have been some things indeed and on my mind. One of the primary things that have been on my mind as we move into this holiday season titled the Thanksgiving is I have heavily on my mind several things. The mass shootings that have been occurring throughout these United States over the last, 2 months. The shooting in Colorado and the queer club for no reason other than what must be a demonstrated issue of hatred. The shooting most recently at Walmart. And of course there was the shooting at Virginia State University and just carnage as we move towards the end of the year, in anticipation of celebrating anew. I think most in my mind about the young woman, Shaquela Robinson. Is it Robertson? I was up. I could not sleep last night with all of these things running through my head. These mass shootings, this betrayal of friendship of this young entrepreneurial spirit just beginning. Here in Atlanta, we're still recovering from the loss of one of our own homegrown celebrity. It's just a lot of loss right now. And in addition to the loss, you have things going on in other parts of the world. In Iran, they have burned and torched the Ayatollah Khomeini's home. And not that I am holding any space of sadness in that regard, but the space of protest that exists there. You have, right upon the occasion of the holiday season, the billionaire of Elon Musk firing, terminating, releasing in contract hundreds of thousands of people from employment, and many of the big tech companies doing very much the same. Amazon and Apple and Google and all these areas where so many of you may have invested your coin in anticipation that stock would continue to climb, and now you're seeing with gratitude for the consumer, for the employer that keeps everything going with gratitude. You're seeing the outcome of the oligarchs, of the folks that need to see themselves turn a profit. It is to me, just an occasion of, makes you want to think. And so, when I think of this occasion of the day of Thanksgiving, I really am put into a place of what a misgiving it is to even title this day Thanksgiving, right? The United States has been built off of so much predatorial and preferential messaging, mismessaging. I mean, that's the basis of what has really built the culture that this is these Americas. And now that we stand in a season of purging, many of us will rush to family members that most times during the month, during the week, during the year, we can't stand to be around. But we'll rush to them today to sit across a table bountiful with food, of which some feminine or masculine divine energy has poured the labor of their love into, to celebrate the carnage. I mean, it's something that trips me out, and I know that it would seem an oxymoron. I know that it would seem a contradiction as I sit here preparing my own food for my own family. But let me tell you something. No buts, just ands. I do this every day. I pull from my own garden the bounty and the sustenance of life from my own garden daily to feed my family. This ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing that's just happening for this day. This is something that happens every day in this family, because every day in this family, every day in this home, every day in this dojo, there is Thanksgiving. There's a Thanksgiving for the fact that myself as a matriarch am still here. And I've shared before, a year ago, wasn't sure that was going to be the case. But there's Thanksgiving. And I today present myself with joy and pour lovingly into the food that I shall prepare for my children. And as I prepare for them, I will share these words about the misgiving of this day and some of the things that have been on my heart. So, as I think about the young woman who lost her life to fake friends in Mexico, one of the things that that came across my mind, and this was not in any way meant to be an admonishment of her at all. I think of my own daughter, my own many daughters out there in the world. When I think of this question, what was that young woman thinking, and how could she think that those folks were her friends? How could she think? They did not change overnight upon the arrival to Cabo San Lucas, allegedly. I know nothing, I am no one, and so therefore I am nobody. These things are simply my opinions. But I just can't imagine that those young people showed up in Mexico as newly found in the discovery of their vicious behavior. I can't believe that it was anything new to them. Not at all. Not at all. And what fatigues me so and saddens me so on this day of misgiving is that we have not learned how to identify with the intuitiveness of ourselves. Danger. Fake friends, fake folks, fake people, fake issues, fake politics. We seem not to be able to negotiate that within ourselves. We seem to not want to lean into our own intuition and allow ourselves to be guided away from the crowd, to be guided away from the likes, to be guided away from celebrity, to be guided away from reality TV, and to adhere ourselves, to adhese ourselves to something real. And you know what's real at the end of the day? Me. And not me for you, but you for you, and me for me, and that which I create for myself. That's what's real. That is what is real. So, it saddens me so when I think about the young woman that she would pay, allegedly, for a trip, allegedly, for herself and 6 friends, allegedly, to go to Cabo San Lucas to celebrate the occasion of whatever, allegedly, and within 24 hours of their arrival, allegedly, not only is this young woman deceased, but she has been tortured, allegedly. None of that was new. None of their behavior, none of how they showed up. And I agree with you, my friend. This is a new generation, and we use the term friend way too loosely. But what I want to talk to you about is where all that comes from, especially on this day of misgiving. What is the basis of Thanksgiving? Let's just kind of break it on back. I remember being a child growing up in the Bay Area of California. Good morning, my love. You washed your hands? You can go downstairs and watch a movie, and I'll start your breakfast in just a second, okay? Everything's set up for you downstairs. You can just move the tray off of the sofa and chill out and watch a movie. Did you sleep all right? Let me get my sugar and my food. Got to take a break for the love, because this is what's real. Right over here, this is what's real. Hi, my young girl. I love you. All right, go on down. I'll get you started on some things. Got to take a break for what's real, because it feeds me. It fuels my heart. It gives me passion to continue in my endeavors. But like I was saying, what is the occasion of Thanksgiving? And especially for those of us that are brown people throughout the diaspora. And it's so funny, any one of us from any part of the world, when we get here, we get quick to celebrate some Thanksgiving, whether we be African, Haitian, Jamaican, Trinidadian, Guyanese, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Venezuelan, Honduran, Guatemalan, Mexican. We're all, as soon as we get into what we consider to be this melting pot of the Americas North, we're quick to celebrate this holiday. Everybody, I'm Indian, from the diaspora of the continent of India, and the various cultural identifications within that one population. We all get to this space known as the Americas, and we participate in this custom that is the misgivings. So let's be clear about what the misgivings are. So we had, prior to any person of no color stepping their foot up on any part of these lands, in Georgia, the most of which was a damn penal colony. So before anybody stepped a foot here, there were people already here. There have been people inhabiting the spaces of this earth since the beginning. After the mother, the original and first mother, offered the fruit of her womb from the cradle of civilization that we all know to be Africa. After that primordial mother dispersed her fruit throughout all these various continents, there was life. There were people. There was substance. There was sunlight in the morning, and so we knew to rise. And after the morning followed the midday, and after the midday, the afternoon, and after the afternoon, we had the late afternoon, and after the late afternoon, we had the early evening, known as the dusk. And after the dusk, we had the evening. And after the evening, we had night. And then with night's approach, we knew to lay ourselves down, to give ourselves rest, so that we could rise and participate in the fluctuations of routine and rituals, which is the daytime life, right? And within those fluctuations and routines, we tended to our fields. We tended to our gardens. We tended to our flock. We herded our sheep and our goats. We cared for our chickens and our beast of burden. We looked after our children. We taught them our customs. We taught them basket weaving, or we taught them calligraphy or stenography. If they were in spaces to hold sacred script, they learned how to write sacred script, whether that was through pictures or through words. We taught them the practices of how to hold the food and preserve the food that was gained from the fields. We learned the process of preservation. We learned how to mine salt, and we taught our children to do the same. Those who lived by the seaside taught their children how to fish. And we do these things during the day, and this is the process of life, because this is the bounty that whomever you would consider to be the supreme being, and even if you consider there to be none, this is the bounty. This is the process of living on this planet Earth. There is the rising of the sun in the morning and the setting of the sun at night. The moon is always there, as is a mother, always there, reflecting the light of the sun. You hear it in all types of songs, Erykah Badu and all the esoterics, everybody rapping about the shit. So this is nothing new. It's in one of your favorite catalogs of stories known as the Bible, in your other favorite catalog of stories known as the Torah, in your other favorite catalog of stories known as the Quran. Nothing that I'm saying is new at all. This is honestly the truth. Okay, so we move through these endeavors known as the day, and we teach our children year after year and generation after generation how to do the same, and then, as is the custom of a new generation, they bring a new perspective, a new space of knowledge, a new space of awareness, a new opportunity to streamline a process, to improve in a process. That's evolution, and it happens slowly over time, which is called progress. Right? Step by step, over time, progress. Which is why it trips me out when people talk about progressive politics as if stuff is supposed to happen overnight because we think it should be so. No, things take time. We're teaching generations. We're cultivating humanity. We're cultivating a planet. It takes time. So at one particular time, on a space that was very much inhabited by a people, we had another people show up in the effort of their own progression. Right? Their country was overrun, allegedly, their countries, with people and crime and corruption. And so they jumped on boats to figure out how to get away from all three, from corruption, from crime, from punishment, right? And they go and seeking commerce, seeking opportunities for trade, seeking opportunities for economic improvement. And they go across the seas and they're venturing and they're looking. And to be perfectly honest, as has been discovered by anybody who has read a damn book, who has heard a story, they got some of their calculating wrong. And where they thought they had landed in India, they had landed in these spaces of the Americas with people already here. And they did not choose to commune in fellowship with these people that were here throughout the diaspora that was these Americas, and the diaspora of the American people that were already here, who had at one point in time themselves discovered this space, this wild terrain, and through custom and practice made it their home. These new arrivals did not honor the space of legacy that is the indigenous American, whether that American be in the South or here in the North. The new arrivals did not honor that space. They sought to, let's be real, capitalize in the space. They sought to bastardize the tradition of honoring land that was known in the space, slaughtering all things, not out of need or necessity, but out of nothing but pure greed. Allegedly. And so these folks come, here with their issues, bringing their issues to a place that had no issues, where people honored the rising of the sun, and were happy to participate in the activities of the day, teaching the old, teaching the young, the able doing the work, the hardest of labor, and all working in cooperation with one another. We've even made it a bad thing to use the word tribe. I'll never forget the time, one time I was, a young professional. And I was like, I believe we need to have a return. I think I was working for some nonprofit with several women of color and several women who were not of color. And I said something like, I believe that we have a need to return to, a sense of tribalness, a sense of tribal culture. And everybody jumped down my back. Why would you say tribe? That's so, you just being so disrespectful. When did being tribe become a bad thing, Black people? When did tribe become something, just hearing it in a professional space would send your systems into shock? It was surprising to me. And I guess that's when I knew that was the beginning of the end of my career in nonprofit. Though I stayed in the field for about 15 years, I knew I wasn't like the rest of them, because there was no shame to my game about the fact that I crave tribal culture and tribal life. And you're not going to make me feel ashamed of that, because that's what's in the heart of me, in the heart of my blood. That's how I manage my family. But maybe it's just me, So anyway, these tribes of people who have differences, for sure, and to be real, got all types of differences. These tribes of people, because of how they honor the sun and the sun as it moves across the span of the sky, and gives us the fullness and the fulfillment of day, lends us to the spaces of the coolness of night, and gives us relief from the day and the activities of the day when we're able to feast with each other. Every day is a Thanksgiving, as we're able to feast with one another, to tell our stories of what happened during the day, as we come together as a family unit, right? These tribes. So, we get these folks here, these new arrivals, who come here simply to benefit themselves, venture capitalism at its best, And they say because they are poor and broken and disheveled and unwanted and many other things, greedy as hell, greedy as all hell, greedy as all hell, hungry. They don't want to live in harmony with what is already established. No, not that. They wish to capitalize, they wish to devour, they wish to claim, they wish to own that which could never be owned. How can you own the sun in the sky? How can you own the water that falls freely from the clouds into the rivers and the lakes? How can you own the water that comes from the sky, the rivers and the lakes, and allows us to water our fields? How can you own that? How can you own the earth that was here, the ground beneath our feet, that we have always all tread upon? When that original mother, the primordial mother, gave birth to beings and spread them across the continents that didn't even exist. It was one land mass. Who could say they owned that? As those feet walked upon the soil, did any of them own that? No. There was no sense in the mind to even think to own that. If anything, folks were happy to come across fruit as they journeyed that they could eat. Celery is delicious. Oh, it's so sweet. Sweet and kind of salty. Folks were, do you understand what I'm saying? These people journeyed. The original diasporas, people walked across these lands. Didn't nobody own nothing? And as they settled into pockets of spaces and places, and then cultivated those spaces and places with ritual and routine, still the original person did not say, I own this, and I shall tax upon anybody for their presence in this. No, somehow we were able to cultivate trade and understand the mission of bartering as we evolved. But then we get to these current times and these current places. In 2023, you would think that evolution would have us at a place where we would understand the greatest of things. But we remain ignorant as fuck. I'm so serious. Where we actually think, and we have trained our young people to think that somebody sending you a goddamn friend request on a social enterprise media site has any weight or any bearing in their life. We have actually trained our young people as a measure of commerce and industry that their own creativity means nothing unless they have a social platform to present it on for people to provide them with likes. And should they not get enough likes, they are somehow invalid in their effort to be entrepreneurial, to be a merchant within the global marketplace. What in all of the fucks is wrong with us? I am so serious. And so when I think about everything that is happening today, when I think about the loss of life of that young woman and the fact that she was lost to fake friends, and here we sit on the day of fake friendship and fake giving, something that we as a culture of American people have honored year after year after year after year, as if the day is not a day of sacrifice and massacre. Look, at the end of the day, allegedly, those folks of no color did not assemble because they had nothing. They were starving in their boats with scurvy, raping their women, allegedly. They had nothing to offer. They were at the end of their rope. It was the people that were here that understood the bounty of this earth and that they should share it. It did not belong to them. They were gifted. And they felt blessed. So they shared their blessing and their bounty. And as they prepared a table, same as the young woman, she paid for the trip, allegedly. She paid for the accommodation, allegedly. Before she had the opportunity to sit within the functional space of the blessing that she had provided, allegedly, her life was taken away from her. And why are we shocked? This is the custom of these Americas. The indigenous man brought his bounty, saw the sickness of those coming off of boats and said, I have substance to heal you. Let me share it with you. Prepared a table for his enemy, who ate willfully and got up and slaughtered every single last one of them. This is what the person of no color did. Please believe it. Ate willfully at a table. The conqueror, ate willingly from that table. Willfully from that table. Voraciously of that table. Filled themselves with substance enough to have the energy to pick up their knife in betrayal and stab those people in the back. Not only at that Thanksgiving table, that misgiving table, but created a legacy of sabotage and betrayal that would last into infinity. And that's just the story of what happened here. Just the story of what happened here in these Americas. We're so caught up, we the brown people of the diaspora, we who are filled with so much compassion, who have these natural spaces of living, evolving, and being. Those of us like myself who are called the witches, I am one. All I am is someone who practices natural medicine. I grow my own food. I teach my children about the fact that the sun rises. When the sun rises, you wake. And you move throughout the day with the specificity to create and produce the substance that we shall give thanksgiving for in the evening. Not only the labor to produce and grow food and bring it to the table, but the opportunities to learn about one another. We bring all that to the dinner table every day, and I ask my children, how was your day? How are you feeling? Is there anything I can do for you? What did you learn? What was the most exciting part of your day? And you know, as I've talked to them over the years, they do the same with me. Well, Mom, well, how was your day? Well, what did you do? Did you get your candles done? Did you do any work on your business plan, Mom? Have you planned a trip yet out of the country, Mom? This is the Thanksgiving, and it happens every day, and this is a custom of most of us that are indigenous people on this planet. Most of us that are indigenous people within our own land spaces. This is the custom of the day, is to be filled with compassion, to be filled with thanksgiving, to be filled with the spirit of fellowship and brotherhood and family. But who is this bastardized being? What is this cousin to us that is not filled with the same sense of thanksgiving? Who is this jealous compatriot? This person filled with avarice and envy? Why are they filled with so much avarice and envy? The sun shines for them as well. The night gives them the same comfort. They have the same 12 hours of the day to produce their bounty. Why is it that they are filled with so much pain, so much envy, so much avarice, that we have created a custom around giving their betrayal Thanksgiving? That the most talented of us, the most beautiful of us, the most intelligent of us, those of us that have the most to give and the most to offer, we are constantly, as is the case of compassion, seeking out the wounded to heal them. It's a vicious cycle, and they turn on us every time, stab us in the back, betray us to the detriment of the loss of our own lives. This is nothing new. What happened to the young woman is nothing new, but what I'm saying is it should stop. It should stop. And the way that it stops is, let me tell you something, speaking only to those with whom I can speak. Ladies, you have got to begin to see the honor and the value of yourselves. I have nothing to say to the brothers. Nothing at all. I owe you nothing. I've given you everything. My body, children, my labor. I've worked hard for this economic engine known as capitalism in these Americas. I have nothing left to give to men. Nothing at all. And the one that I have to give for, he questions not. All the bounty that is mine is his, because he labors with me. The rest of you brothers out there, you haven't shown yourselves to be my brothers. You haven't shown yourselves to be my father. You haven't shown yourselves to be a friend. So I talk to the ladies. I talk to the women in the room, and I encourage you, please, ladies, let this type of message get out. The reason why things are the way that they are is because we don't love ourselves. We don't love ourselves to hold up a boundary and say, you shall not pass into the space of my beautifulness, of my bounty, of my magic, of my ability to produce. You may not procreate with me until you show me that you are worthy of my submission and my sacrifice. We give so willingly of ourselves, ladies. We are the culture under which Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any type of social media platform, any type of economic engine. It exists because of us. We are the mass consumer and the mass producer. We produce the labor force. And then we, as the heads truly of households, go out and spend the most money. But we refuse to have a boundary around any interaction with us. And so why do I say that we're the basis of every social media anything? It's because we have created this bastardized sense of needing validation. We need the validation of the likes. We need people to tell us that they approve of us. We need it. If we didn't need it so much, people would not be able to use it against us. But we have such a need. We have such a need to be liked. We have such a need to be popularized. You know, I often have said that the reason why there are no noses on the pyramids in ancient Egypt, it ain't got shit to do with the fact that a man of no color was jealous of a man of color. Let me be honest about this. See if you can get with this theory, allegedly. What I know is the jealousy of one woman towards another. Well, they say a woman scorn. So as those men of no color were walking through the fertile land, and they looked up with their man and they saw that not only were these great monuments erected, looking like women, donned with headdresses, being, you know, revered and worshipped and given praise and giving thanks. These women that did not look like them, and here their men come through this space, amazed at the wonderment. What is this? These tributes to Ma'at. These tributes to the original mother. They're looking at them and they want to know, what beauty is this? What is the inspiration of this? What I need to know what could have inspired man to have resurrected such monuments. I know that was the case. And I also know that the response was from the woman of no color that traveled with that man. She sent one in the night and said, blow off that nose. That nose doesn't look like mine. It's not thin. How dare he be attracted to that? I can never be that. Go and destroy that image. And it was. And then we allow ourselves to be fooled into thinking that it has to do with the ego of men. It had nothing to do with the ego of men. The reason why black women were stole, African women were stole from the continent is because of our ability to bear children. To bear them in excess and bear them strong. Women in other places were dying in childbirth. We were able to be sustained through childbirth again and again and again and again and create whole nations. And somebody simply said, oh, well, this can serve us, so we shall let it. As I said, allegedly, after our own men, in order to profiteer off of our ability to bear fruit, sold us, captured us and sold us to each other. Why? Because let me tell you something, ladies, at the end of the day, men can't make themselves. Don't be fooled. Now, they're coming up with technology and science to be able to do so. But the reality is, natural man and natural woman is not made from a man. We bear the womb space that fertilizes life, that literally matures and nurtures life. The womb space does that. The darkest of water, the fact that we have a body that allows our organs to literally move, our intestines move, in order for us to raise out, to fill with the womb space of childbearing. Men don't have that capacity. We do. So why do you think there was even a need for a slave trade? What do you think was going on? Do you not think that men needed to find a way to reproduce themselves? And so they went and took women from spaces for their womb, and not only for their womb, but for the fact that they could labor beside them in field to create new nations? You don't think that that was the case? You don't think that when the tribes of no color came into the fertile land, that they gazed upon this imagery, which was the man of color, the black man, the Afro man, giving praise and honor to the mother Ma'at for the substance that is his very life? You don't think that she had a problem with the fact that her own men were captivated and beguiled by this image and said, shoot that nose off? When we think about the treachery of what befell the American slave, when we think about the Constitution of these United States, and the fact that men place themselves in superiority over everything. So men of no color, with the creation of our Constitution, put themselves in a place of superiority above all others, but in the way that they think, which is a collective consciousness. They had already made provision for their mate and their partner, being the woman of no color. The reason why people of color, brown people in these United States, you must think as a collective consciousness, is because you will have no legacy if you have no agency to do just that. You have to participate, not for your today, but for the outcomes of your tomorrow. Better read your Constitution and figure out how it was set up. It's the one caveat we have at negotiating power. But so many of you don't like to vote because you don't feel like the shit is fair, like the shit was set up to be fair. Of course it wasn't set up to be fair, because it was set up to benefit men of no color. But they knew that they would evolve. They knew that they would always have to have a labor force. Always knew. They knew that as a part of their culture and tradition, that labor force would not look like them, and if did, it would be their own bastardized sons and daughters. And so the whole point of it was to set up levels of hierarchy. Who was enabled these inalienable rights versus who they thought should not be. And the reason why I bring all of this up is because, ladies, you have power over all of that. You have power over all that. You know, brothers, if you want to know why black women come out and vote in mass and participate, is because we've figured out that at the end of the day, without us truly participating in the process, there would be no alternative. There would be no opportunity for progress. There would be no opportunity for a liberal construct, which is simply considering the opinion of the person opposite you. That's all liberalism is. Just to be in the space to consider the opinion opposite of yourself. And so with all this power that we hold, we still get ourselves into spaces where we need validation and likes. And we're willing to sacrifice our lives constantly for validation and likes. You know, I've always dealt with treacherous friends. I have. All of my existence, I've dealt with folks who, I don't know why. I'm an orphan. I've shared it before. I'm an orphan. You know what I'm saying? My life has not been, in terms of economic security, you know, I haven't had everything just given to me on a silver platter. I certainly have not. I've had to work really hard. Had to work really hard to gain myself some level of education. Beyond that, I've had to work really hard to care for and provide for my children. But I've always had people who have done the most jealous and fucked up ass shit to me, who called themselves my friends. You know, I'll give you this one story. Oh, pause. Yes.
I'm saving myself something.
Okay. You can get oatmeal right now. Get oatmeal. The water's already done. I've had friends all my life who, yes, you may, who have always, you know, come to me under the false notion of friendship. So I'll tell you this one story, and then I'm going to go back to fixing this food and doing what I need to do that I do every day for my family. I was in college. And those of you who know me know where I went to college, so I don't need to discuss that. But I'll never forget my freshman year. I was in college seeking love and validation from the folks that were in my dorm hall. That these were, you know, you look to the left, you look to the right, and the certain folks ain't gonna be with you in the years to come, you know, and you create at HBCUs allegedly these strong groups of friends, and they last you a lifetime, and they're the reason why, you know, you get jobs. It's supposed to look like the politics of Harvard and Princeton and Yale and Cambridge in across the seas. You know, we're supposed to have these friendships that last a lifetime, and this is supposed to be our political maneuvering, our negotiation of powers to matriculate the process of our education and to maintain these friendships, right? So let me tell you about one occasion of such a friendship and why I'm not surprised but saddened at what happened to the young lady. And we should say her name. Shaquela, I'm so sorry that you lost your life. I'm so sorry. It fills me with emotion that you lost your life and the way that you lost your life. So I had these friends, right? We hanging hard. We homegirls. I'm doing what I always do, showing up for folks. You know, they need something. They can come to my room and get it. You know, they need somebody to talk to. They need somebody to be their friend. I'm there for them. What you talking about, girl? I got you. You got it, baby? Oh, look at you. Such a big girl. And so I had this one friend. I won't say her name. She was from the Midwest. And I use a friend sparingly today. You know, many of you also know that friends are family that I have created for myself. Let me say that again. Friends for me as an adoptee and an orphan are the family that I have created for myself. All right? So I take friendship very seriously, and I'm extremely loyal. So I had this young woman who was my friend in college, and, you know, I was there for her. She was there for me. We all going through things our freshman year. And so I'll never forget. It was in the second semester of the year. And this particular young person was sick, you know, came rushing through the dorm one day. From what I remember, I remember seeing her. So she, I think, had gotten out of a taxi or something like that. But all I know is that she came rushing up through the dorm, and she didn't look well. right? And so I was concerned about her. And this is my friend, right? And so I believe I went to her room and I went to go check on her and to see if she needed anything. And she's, belly aching and just moaning in her bed. And, I just felt so sorry for her. I think I went and got her some chicken soup or something like that. I remember trying to do for her, getting her water, whatever she needed, right? And so I believe later on in that day, if not in that day, sometime maybe perhaps in the next maybe 24 to 48 hours, we had the occasion where we were together. And I'm asking her, how are you doing? And what happened? Why were you so sick? What was going on? And she was like, well, I had to have a procedure done. And I was like, oh, no, are you okay? And she was like, well, I'll be all right. I've been better. I'll be all right. And I was like, well, just as a friend, being who I am and seeing my friend in distress, well, what happened? What did you have to have done? Like, what can we do for you? Can I get you anything? What can I do for you? And so this person steps to me, I'll never forget it. We're in the rec hall of the dormitory. And she lived on one side of the hall. I lived on the other side of the hall. So the common ground meeting space was this floor rec space. So we're on the rec space. And, I'm, concerned for her and asking her, what's happened and what can I do for her? And then, she begins to tell me about this procedure that she had to have. Right? And I was like, you could have told us. You could have told me. You didn't have to do that alone. You didn't have to do that alone. I feel so badly for you. Are you okay? Do you need me to call your mom? Do you need anything? Do you need medicine? And this young lady turns to me and says, and I quote, I remember this very distinctly. This young woman turns to me and says, you are such a stupid a biatch. You're such a stupid biatch. I said, what are you talking about? She was like, the procedure that I had to have was one that terminated life. And she was like, and I was like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't know anything about that type of thing. So I was like, and I didn't even have the words projecting at that time in my life to say that she was projecting and or not. All I knew is I didn't know a lot about any of that. I was new into my own sexual activity and sexual discovery and had not come across the occasion of any decisions in regards to how to manage a new life that was unexpected. And so I'm listening to her just thinking that she needs the space to vent and to be heard. And then she was like, you're so damn stupid. She was like, I had to terminate such and such. And the other person involved is your boyfriend. And I sat and I wasn't sure if I had heard her correctly. Huh, girl? What? Huh? What'd you say? Yeah, and she said, yeah, you dumb so-and-so. She was very, very astute on wanting me to understand how much she had no respect for me. Yeah, you dumb so-and-so. The donor was your boyfriend. We've been messing around all year or whatever it was. And all I know is as she said that, my mind went blank. I remember everything going black, right? And I believe that I reached out for her, I'm sure, to wring her neck. I'm sure. And the reason why I'm saying I'm sure is because I don't remember. I blacked out. But I do know that we were engaged in the battle of our lives, right? And mostly the battle of mine. Because all I can tell you is that day I got my ass kicked. I surely did. So to my own children, please understand, your mama got her ass kicked. Now, I did my best. I had fought against my brothers all my life. They play slapped me up and all that type of stuff. But, you know, I had nothing for this young woman from the Midwest, not at all. And she proceeded to whoop my tail as best she could, with me defending myself as best I could in my space of being blacked out with fury and rage over the fact that I was giving so much of myself, so much of my compassion to somebody who wanted to sit in my face and tell me I wasn't shit, and that she had been betraying me the whole year with somebody I was indeed sharing myself with. And so had it not been for a call to the Alps and a response from a neutral party, thank God for the Swiss. I appreciate them, because the Swiss saved my life that day. Because this woman, who was my friend, had me in a vice grip. I remember when I came back into a space of realizing what the hell was going on, I was hanging out a goddamn window. Y'all understand me? Hanging out a window. Like this. With this young woman's anger and fury upon me for being a stupid bitch. And so, you know, thank God for the Swiss Alps, like I said, that they came and saved my life that day. Because I might have ended up like the young woman who we lost in Cabo San Lucas, Shanquella. Say her name. Say her name. I could have ended up just like that. A tragedy. Over some bullshit. Connected to some boy who didn't give a damn about either one of us. And that's the tragedy that I think about today, on this day of misgiving. Sisters, please begin to value yourselves more. Please begin to value yourselves more. Please begin to realize that you must have boundaries. You know, please, I've said before, I've listened to Cynthia G, so I don't want to take any of her talking points. But the reality is, stuff that she's saying ain't new, especially as it relates to this mantra. Boundary, standards, and expectations. Please have them. You must. They are your saving grace. Your first boundary should be your intuition and your instinct. And if somebody doesn't feel like they for you, please believe that. I've had so many that have not been for me. My daughter has fallen into the treacherous hands of so many that have not been for her. Her life has been dismantled time and time and time again through the hands of people that she has called her friend. She has been willing to fight me back, fight me down, beat me down. And believe me, I had developed some hands by then. All for her friends, because they needed her more. Her life has gone into all types of space of compromise for friends, as has mine, always for my friends. You know, I've had a friend who actually allowed her mate to pull a weapon on me and my children, my son. It's important, ladies, you know, on this day of misgiving, as we go to the friendship spaces, friends being the family we create for ourselves. You know, my word of honor today for you is, please love yourself more than you love anything outside of yourself. You absolutely must. Good morning, baby. How are you feeling?
Good morning.
Good morning. We've got to care for ourselves more than we care for anyone outside of ourselves. If we don't do that, we are indeed lost, not just to ourselves, but anything that could be great or worthy or right or well in any space of living. If we cannot get it together to place ourselves back upon the pedestal of reverence, if we cannot, figure out how to demonstrate the bounty of our self-love and our self-care, we are truly indeed, as a collective consciousness of people walking this earth, we are lost. We are lost. This is the specific and special and prioritized calling to women. You've got to prioritize yourselves again. You've got to have a standard of engagement for yourself. When we have boundaries and we say this is not what goes on over here, it creates a standard. And people know I can't go over there with the bullshit. I really like Sharon, but I can't go over her house with all that bullshit. She ain't going for that. That's the standard. And then when you have a standard, there is an expectation, and the expectation is not for anybody that it stands outside of the self. Expectation is for the self. Expectation is you reflecting back upon the boundary and saying, I don't do that bullshit. I expect that when you come over here, you're going to come over here with your good graces, your good manners, your good spirit, your good energy, your good vibes, or you can kick rocks elsewhere. And so I've had to do a lot in my life. That has been the discipline of the center of being dojo. I have had to do a lot to come back to a space of myself, to honor myself, to shed away from me many a fake friend. I've had friends do all kinds of stuff and consider themselves to be my friend. And I know that they are not. I'm strong enough to stand in this space now to know that many who would like to be my friend are not. What they want to do is be able to be in my presence because I'm genuine. I'm loyal. I'm unapologetically authentic. And I encourage you, all of my daughters, all of my sisters, all of my mud deers, do the same. Don't be afraid to be very comfortable with the temple of your own familiar. I'm good with myself, and I'm good by myself, and I'm good with the nation that I'm building here in this small space. And any who join me, you already know there's boundaries, standards, and expectations around this. And all are not welcome. You hear me? So as you prepare your food, as I am preparing my own, and you get yourself ready for the bounty of friend and foe who will surely find themselves at your table today, I encourage you to not be ungraceful. I encourage you to rest in the space of your divine feminine selves and resurrect and erect for yourselves some good old boundaries. Allow your instincts to tell you today if somebody should hit your door and you believe they should not be there, send them on their way. There is a table prepared for them elsewhere, and they should go sit at it. But where they will not sit is at your table and provide your life with any measure of disharmony. You are worth that. Your children are worth that. Your family and sacred protected spaces are worth that. Shaquila's life was worth that. Her life was worth her trusting in her own instinct about these people that I know had shown up before the occasion of her death as traitorous. You know how I know? Because they taped it. You know why they taped it? Because they wanted likes. At some point in time, the fact that they taped it showed that there was premeditation, because they taped it in an effort to gain people's approval of their behavior. That shows me premeditation, which shows me they always had the traits and the ability to engage in such murderous activity. Allegedly, 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 allegedly. So today, in the spirit of misgiving, let me give you some things to be thankful for. I see you. my beautiful sisters, my loving sons, I see you. And in seeing you, I am seen for who I am. And I receive you. In receiving you, I'm able to exchange with you. I'm able to be given to, and in your giving to me, I'm able to give back to you. And I appreciate you. In being given the opportunity to provide you with my thanks, I am able to participate in the greatest known prayer of all. Gratitude. Gratitude is how we push the boundary of abundance. It's how we engage in the practice of manifestation through gratitude for what we have. So I'm so appreciative to those of you who joined me today in this space. I see you, I receive you, I appreciate you, and I remind you, at the center of Being Dojo, where love and home exist, where the martial discipline of self is the priority, please understand that your vitality indeed and true begins here. I love you all. I thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday occasion with your family and your friends. Protect your hearts, protect your homes, protect your backs. And I hope to see you in tomorrow. I love you. Have a beautiful day. About to cook for my babes. Peace out.